June 12 democracy movement of the Nigeria, convened by eminent pro-democracy stakeholders and activists in Nigeria. Let's head there now.
It will be old, but his businesses would have grown beyond our comprehension. He was not only killed, but his businesses were killed. His businesses were dragged down. So we have to look ahead. And that is what MKO Abiola will want us to do. To move Nigeria ahead to a height where Nigeria will cater for all. And we are happy that one of those that followed MKO around during his politicking is now the president of Nigeria. I saw a picture. You see, there are things that happen unconsciously, but we do not see the future. I saw a picture of MKO, Abacha, Asiwaju was behind, moving with them. And that talks about mentorship. As young people, we need mentors, good mentors, in order to mirror our height and project our future. It's important. MKO was a mentor to many business people. MKO was a mentor to so many youth and politicians. Today, people campaign on the name of MKO in order to win office. Like I said, if MKO was to be alive, he will be very happy to see a Nigeria that can come together for the purpose of the nation's development. If you don't forget, during the intrigue of the politicking for MKO to win that ticket in the Just Convention, Asiwaju had to jettison his own ambition to be Senate President. I'm a politician. I am, by the grace of God today, the organizing secretary for the APC. I was the secretary of the June 12 coalition, the pioneering secretary to Dr. Bekor and Samputi. So I can see both sides. As a politician, if Asiwaju had continued with his quest, the other politicians from other blocks, tendencies in the party will rally around him to win. And you know that you cannot have a Senate president from the West and have a president from the West. So they could see the future, because the future of MKO presidency is far greater than any self-aspiration. So Asiwaju moved. MKO came in. And Yaradua should also be thanked. Yaradua Sr., because he was in control of the PDM. And the forces of the PDM also assisted him. They assisted him not because of anything, but because MKO has built relationship, friendship that cannot be thrown aside. For politicians, friendship matters, true friendship. Building bridges across the divide. That is what will help us to go far. I am speaking to the young people, especially if you want to go far in business, have a mentor. If you want to go far in business, build good, healthy relationship with people. If you want to do likewise in any human strata, especially politics, you need to build friendship. So we thank God for what has happened. I will enjoin all Nigerians to support the Asiwaju presidency, because it takes he who wears the shoe to know where it pinches. Asiwaju embarked on power, IPP, in 2000. If the constitution of Nigeria and the president as at then had allowed, Lagos State would have been selling electrical energy, not only in Nigeria, but outside of Nigeria. And it would have attracted that foreign currency that we need. So we need to support the presidency. We need to support President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, regardless of whatever. Like he said in his speech today, the judiciary is there. People can go to the judiciary to prove their point. We must not burn the country down before points are proven. We must exhaust all patience, all democratic norms in order to get to that point where everybody will agree on. So I thank you for giving me the mic. I'm happy to see many of our leaders here seated and many of our friends, but we must not also forget our unsung heroes. Many people died on the street in Nigeria. We can't capture all of their names, but we can make them happy if we all do what is best. Leadership are gotten from followership. If you want a good leader, we must have good following. We won't pick them from Mars. We won't pick them from Jupiter. We'll pick them from Nigeria. If you want people to move the private sector well, we must invest massively in education. And Ashwaju has said he will do that because we need the human capital. It is the human capital that can transform a lot of things. You're stepping on pebbles, granite. It is the human capital that brought it from the rock. We have the tarpaulin, very nice, beautiful. We have the granite. It is the human capital. The technology in your hands are a product of human capital. And you can only get it from education. I thank you. The Nigerian youth must seek good education beyond the classroom. But security, peace is very important. And we can only assure that by ourselves, not the soldiers, not the police, but by Nigerians. Thank you and God bless.
Please, a round of applause for Comrade Ayodele Adewale, the former chairman Amuwo Dofin local government area. Please jam your hands together once again.
I think we all enjoying the beautiful speech. So the next person who is to talk now is who is to speak now is our son, Michael Sekome. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, and let me recognize the presence of our compatriots here who have been in the struggle with us, including the ones that came later who were not then born when we were in the trenches in the 80s up to the 90s, up to 1999, when we had this Fourth Republic with Obasanjo coming in as president under a system that did not even have any constitution to follow. Because elections were actually held in 1999 before we had the constitution, the present constitution, which is actually a schedule attached to decree number 24 of 1999, which is where some of us have always insisted that the constitution is not a people's constitution because it was militarily imposed. It does not respect our concept of federalism because it is a unitary constitution. It is not a constitution that enthrons fairness, social justice, equity, egalitarianism. That is why we continue to oppose that constitution, and we have continued to say that Nigeria needs an autochthonous, indigenous, people-driven constitution that enjoys the credibility, the legitimacy of the Nigerian people. These are concepts that the late Basharun Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola fought for and died for. I want to say that Abiola believed in pluralism. He believed in different opinions because he was not a dictator. Abiola will be moving in his grave if he ever thinks that a time will come when people will not be allowed to have their own individual voices, because that was what he lived and died for. He was already a wealthy man. In fact, he was reputed to be, maybe arguably, the wealthiest African living. But for Nigeria, there was no question about that. Abiola was the wealthiest Nigerian living. He had businesses spread across Nigeria. And people were wondering then, why would he come to politics? To come and do what? He wanted to touch more lives through his program of farewell to poverty. He knew that his individual wealth, which he was busy spreading, to use his words, like manure onto plants, would not touch every nook and cranny. And that the only way to do it was through the democratic process. And that was why he went into elections under the Social Democratic Party, SDP. But Nigerians did not give a damn. Over 29 million Nigerians voted for him. Military barracks, police barracks, he won. Because he was so popular. Nigerians believed in Abiola. There was no division. The votes he got then are votes that present day politicians are still struggling to get. Votes Abiola got 30 years ago. Today. Why? Because he was pro-masses. He was pro-people. So no one should have the mistake that Nigerians can sleep facing the same side of the wall or lying down the same way. It is not possible in a country of 374 ethnic groups that speak over 350 languages, according to Professor Otite Onigo in his demographic survey of Nigeria. But I want to make this point, that Abiola is the only Nigerian I know of or can remember who paid the supreme price so that Nigeria, this contraption that was conscripted together on January 1, 1914 by Lord Lugard, coupling together the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony to found Nigeria. Abiola was the only one who paid the supreme price for this country, this contraption, that was actually giving her name on the 8th of January, 1897, by one young lady called Miss Flora Louisa Shaw, who later married Lord Lugard, in an article she had written in the London Financial Times of that day. So Abiola paid what I would regard as the price for redemptive messianism or messianic redemption, so that Nigeria and Nigerians can prosper. I do not know of any other Nigerian who decided to lay down his life to be taken to Golgotha. Abiola knew he was already released from prison on bail. Federal High Court, Abuja, Court of Appeal, Kano. They told Abiola to go on bail, but on certain conditions. One was that he should never again speak to the media, and he should denounce June 12th. He should never speak for June 12th. If Abiola had just simply agreed, he will be back to this house. But he said, no. That mandate you want me to trade off, it's not my mandate. Nigeria. He said they are telling me to trade off a mandate
a mandate that is not my own mandate. You cannot give out what you don't have. How can I trade off the mandate of Nigerians? A mandate freely and voluntarily given to me by the Nigerian people. No one. Abacha is saying, they are saying I should trade off the mandate. When Carrington came, the ambassador, I saw him visiting Abacha. He bent down. Now you have come to see me. Instead of bowing down for a midget, you have assumed your natural height now. Because if you cannot wear beads on a frog, how can you wear the beads on a snake? That was MKO Abiola for you, a man of wit, a man of proverbs, a man of parables that he used in driving home his message. That man was killed in questionable circumstances in Aso Villa. So we need an answer. There's no question about that. Thank God the gap-toothed General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is still alive. Please, sir, before you go, before you join our ancestors, tell Nigerians why you annulled that freest, that fairest, that most credible, that most legitimate election ever to have taken place in Nigeria. Nigerians demand an answer. You once said that there were forces. You said the forces were in the military and some in the civil populace. Who were these forces? Can you unmask these witches and wizards in the coven so that we can know those who killed a freely elected Nigerian president? We want to know. We demand an answer. And it's a legitimate question that we demand legitimate answers to. Whether you liked Buhari or not, I'm a great critic of him before he became president, during his presidency, even after his presidency. But there's one thing you must give to that man, and that is for recognizing the unsurpassable role of MKO Abiola in Nigerian politics. He decorated him with the richly deserved national honor, highest national honor of Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, GCFR. He also declared June 12th, today, as Nigerian Democracy Day, instead of the fake May 29, which some of us, which I particularly had fought against during the 2005 National Political Conference, during the 2009 Vision 2020 Conference, and during the 2014 National Conference, where I actually moved the motion for the recognition of June 12th as Nigeria Democracy Day, and it was carried. For Buhari doing that, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And thank you, sir. So today, we celebrate MKO Abiola. We want to assure you, Baba Abiola, that you may have transited your mortality in flesh, but you remain immortal because you have become an idea and an ideal that Nigerians should look up to and emulate as to how to deepen, how to strengthen, and how to widen the plenitude and amplitude of democracy and democratic practice. And for your wife laying by your side, who also paid the supreme price, Alhaja Kudirat Abiola, we wish both of you and all the souls of the faithful departed
eternal rest, Aljana Fridausi, in the bosom of Almighty God. Amen. Thank you.
But time heals all wounds. Because when I look back, even those who participated in his not being around with us today, most of them are also gone. Most of them are also gone. So go we will all do. It's just a matter of when and how. Some have died since him. Nobody remembers them. Nobody. It's like they never existed. So I think really, truly, we must choose how we want to be remembered whilst we are around. Because it's not so much, death is for sure. But then after death is life. If you deserve to be remembered, after death would be life. And that is why we are all here today. Like I said, my dad had he had many biological children. He also had many biological children because they were all, to him, biological children. I remember the day that we were burying him here, I met some people I'd never seen in my life before, who would tell you stories about what he'd done in their lives and how he had touched their lives. And a particular story I found very profound was a young man who said that dad had sponsored his book that he was writing, and that he had refused to launch the book. He was waiting for him to be released from detention to launch the book. And he was beyond himself. You couldn't stop him from, he was just wailing. And he said, when his dad died, he never cried. You hear, to be quite honest with you, with benefits of hindsight, we just thank God for his life. And like I say to people, if I have to come this way again, if I have to come this way again and I have a choice of who to choose, it will still be him. Because you go to, there's no day, this is a man that has been dead forever. There's no day that somebody doesn't tell you a nice story about him. Not one day. There's no day that you walk someplace and they'll say, oh, your father did this, your father was this, and your father was that. To be quite honest, even that, the legacy that he left, is worth more than any amount of money that he could have left for us. Because he left us goodwill. May God continue to rest his soul. May God continue to grant him Aljana Fidias wherever he is. And I know that he is seated with God in heaven, because he actually, my father told us so many different things that made you know that you don't live for yourself. That when God blesses you, he blessed you so that you can be a blessing unto those who are around you. That there is no point in being rich if it is just about you and your family. Because you're supposed to be a custodian of God's blessing for his people. Those were some of the things that he taught us. He was a man that was profound in thought and profound in deeds. And is a man that, though we may never walk this way again, but will never be forgotten. I thank you. I thank you all, particularly some of you that I see every year, like the SAN, every year. Okay, like I don't know if you're Prof. Sir or Dr. Adewale, comrade, and Dr. Kila and his team, the ones who organize this every single year. The press, because even then, you were the ones, really before the advent of social media, you were the social media. You were the ones who made sure that you were the ones who made sure that the world knew what was going on. You were the ones who highlighted the injustice done this man. You were the ones. So, to the fourth realm, thank you. And may your pen and your camera never run dry. Thank you very much.
That was a wonderful speech. Please let's jam our hands together once again for our mother. Speaking of our father, Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, if we are to speak of the democracy of Nigeria without talking of our father, I believe that history is not rich. Do we all agree with me? I believe that history is not complete because he did a lot in the democracy of Nigeria, and we are happy today that God has used the new elected president, the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I believe he is going to do a lot, and he is going to go in the line of our father, Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. What we all need is to pray for that man and support his mandate. So right now, I will be calling next to give us a keynote address, Mr. Olamileko Abiola. Please let's jam our hands together for him.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming to the SAN, to Comrade Adewale, my sister Ayo, my sister Abola, my sister Italola, the press, the Fourth Realm, the friends of the family that are here, the imams, the clerics. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of you coming here. You know, my sister said just now that the daddy used to beat her and call her a lot, and that we, the younger ones, were not touched. And I have to say to her that it's a lie. I was touched too. Daddy beat me many times. Daddy was a disciplinarian. He disciplined me many times. Wallahi, I can't forget. There was one time the driver came to pick me up from school, and he came with a taxi. And I said to the driver, why you bring a taxi? Where's the car? He said the car developed a fault, so you had to take a taxi to come and take me from school. I said, I'm not going to enter a taxi. Go back home and bring another car. So the driver comes back home to bring another car. And my father sees him. Where's Lekon? He said, moto baje. Mo le gbe taxi wa gbe, o so pe o ti o pon o le wonu taxi. Pé kí n wá sílé, kí n wá gbé mọ́tò èmi, kí n wá gbé. Father said, okay, fi mọ́tò mi, Mercedes Benz mi, fi lọ gbé. Kó bá dẹ̀ gbé tán, sọ fún pé kó bá délé, pé mo fẹ́ rí. When the devil said to me that, Daddy said that when you get home, that he wants to see you. I said, what are you going to tell Daddy? So I remember, I now got home, I had no choice, I had to go upstairs to go and see Daddy. And I remember my Uncle Bashiru, may Allah forgive him, he has gone back to Allah now. Uncle Bashiru was there that day. I entered the room. My father said he used to walk to school every day. He walked to primary school and walked to secondary school every day, in the sun, in the rain. You are telling me that you cannot come back home in a taxi. Bàbá ẹ̀ ó máa ń rìn lọ school, bàbá mi ò ní mọ́tò. He now took a belt. He gave me like 12 lashes. It was my uncle that saved me that day. Pé ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ẹ̀gbọ́n mi, ẹ má nà mọ́. I now said, Daddy, I'll find my way to school. Ẹ má fi mọ́tò gbé mi mọ́. I'll find my way to school now. My school was in King's College, Lagos. So imagine from this place to KC. I said I'll find my way to school. So for the next 3 days, I was going by bus, whatever. I was finding my way to school. After 3 days, my father called me. He said, "Ma worry, But I never tried that kind of thing again. And that was how Daddy was. You know, he was a very wealthy man, but, you know, you have to behave yourself. And if he had become president of Nigeria, he would have made sure that the government behaved itself. The job of government is to bring order and prosperity to the country. He ran under the slogan, farewell to poverty. I want to say to the incoming president, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, that you are part of the June 12 struggle, and you becoming president today is part of the success of June 12. Democracy itself is June 12. My father died for democracy in Nigeria. My mother, may Allah forgive her, Alhaja Kudurat. I remember when I was in University of Lagos Staff School, and I'll come back home from school, and my mom will be lying down in the sitting room, waiting for me, Absat and Jamiu, to come back home. And once we come back home, we'll find mommy sleeping. We'll now be the ones to wake her up. Mommy, today. For that woman to now become a hero for democracy, you can see that it was not part of our plan. We never planned to donate our mother. We didn't plan to donate our mother to Nigeria. That was not the plan. We were begging mommy that time, mommy, Ijate Njayi, Ejo, come to America. Ewa Baba, Emma worry. Just come. You say, I'm coming. I'll come next week. I'll come next week. I'll come next week. Then my brother, Jami, we said, Lekon, mommy will not come. Oh. You have to go home and drag her out. That Abacha is going to kill this woman. What she's saying in the press, the demonstrations, what she's doing, Abacha will kill this woman. He said, Lekon, go back home, grab mommy, and drag her out. He kept disturbing me. He would call me 1 hour on the phone because he was living in New York. I was living in Washington, D.C. He would call me for 1 hour. Lekon, I beg you. I said, come, Biodun. Abacha will not kill mommy. What he can do is he might arrest her, he might put her under house arrest, or he might send her into exile. But he will not kill mommy. He said, hey, mommy, this man, and I said, if you are so sure that Abacha will kill mommy, she's also your mother. Why don't you go home yourself and drag her out? The day my mom was killed, when the man called me to tell me that somebody in your family has been shot, and I called, I was trying to reach her. In fact, I was trying to reach her the day before. She was killed on a Tuesday. I was trying to call mommy on Monday. I tried like 7 times. The number wasn't, there was no GSM then. The number was not going. The number was, you've dialed 234 901 800, 901 802, 901 803. I tried all those numbers. The number was not going through. Just very key my mommy. Say, mommy, how are you doing? What's going on? I couldn't reach her on the phone. So when she had been killed, when the man told me, I said, who was killed in my family? He said, I don't know. Go and find out. So I'm trying to call home again. I can't reach the house. Nobody's picking. The phone is not even going through. There was no GSM. So I now called my brother in New York. I said, but look, somebody said that somebody has been killed in our family. Try to find out what has happened. He called me back in 10 minutes and he was crying. So when I heard him crying, I said, okay, so they've killed daddy. They've killed daddy. He said, no, they killed mommy. I said, no, they killed daddy. He said, no, they killed mommy. I said, no, don't be confused. They killed daddy. He said, no, they killed mommy. And then they'll tell you to go and drag this woman out. So, alhamdulillah, we thank Allah. You know, we thank Allah that my mother died fighting for justice. And also, unfortunately, 2 years later, my dad also died on the same cause. My mom died before him. She sacrificed her life. We were begging her to come out. Wallahi. You don't know how much we were begging this woman. Mommy, Emma Bon now. Mommy, Emma Bon. màá wálé kan mò ń bọ̀ sẹ́ ok ẹ fún àti fẹ́ ṣe demonstration kan lọ́jọ́ Thursday a bá parí demonstration yẹn o ó bá di Saturday màá wá always postponing our coming to America. Alhamdulillah. So a lot of people have died, not only my mother, a lot of people have died for this democracy. And we have to protect the democracy. And also, one other thing I have to say to the president and also to the governors, we have to be serious about violent crime in Nigeria. My mom was shot in the head. She was shot, just like by 7-Up. She was shot with guns. They fired guns at her car, and one of the bullets hit her on the forehead. You see, a lot of Nigerians are dying. Bandits, terrorists, kidnappers. And in the Nigerian law, there is death penalty for those that engage in these activities. And the Nigerian government, federal and state, have refused to implement the death penalty. My mom was killed. The people that killed her admitted that they were the ones that did it. They are all walking free today. If they catch a kidnapper or a bandit, the Nigerian government has refused to execute the death penalty. You are not killing criminals. Criminals are killing Nigerians and you are not executing them back. Now, if the law says that a kidnapper should be killed, death penalty, and the governors and the president refuse to sign a death penalty, they refuse to sign it, they are also being lawless. The blood of Nigerians cannot be cheap. Look at me now, my mom was killed in 1994 or 1996, and you can see how the tears are still want to come out from me. So imagine a Nigerian that was killed yesterday or last week. How is the family feeling? And then when the Nigerian policemen and the army go and risk their lives to apprehend these criminals, and they now take them to court, the court finds them guilty and pronounces a death sentence on them, then the governor says, I cannot sign it. If I was kidnapped in 2017, and my brother, Jamiu, may Allah bless him, was able to pay my ransom, not everybody can afford to pay ransom. If my brother cannot pay my ransom, I will not be standing in front of you right now. How many Nigerians have not been able to pay ransom and they've been killed? And these same kidnappers, when they are finally arrested by the police, the governors will refuse to sign. We have in Niger State right now, like 3 days ago in Niger State, they raided a village, they kidnapped some people and they sent a video that if you don't pay ransom by tomorrow, we're going to start killing them. And the president has to work on this matter. Anybody that has been found guilty of kidnapping, banditry, terrorism, found guilty in the court of law should be put to death. We have to put a stop to violent crime in Nigeria. If you don't stop violent crime in Nigeria, there cannot be any economic growth. You cannot have people going to go and mine in a remote location when kidnappers can kidnap them. You cannot have people farming in the villages and then bandits are raiding them. So we have to work on this matter. Without security, there cannot be any economic growth. We asked the president, my father ran under farewell to poverty. We asked the president to try their best and the governor to try their best to improve the economic conditions of Nigerians, inshallah. And we also asked the president, the new president, and the governors to also do more for the poor, for education and healthcare and infrastructure. We thank you guys for coming. I've said already too much. Thank you very much, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A round of applause for Mr. MKO Abiola.
That was one of the sons of the late MKO Abiola, Leko Abiola, who was reminiscing on the sacrifice which his parents paid for today's democracy. And he's also seeking for the death penalty for kidnappers, bandits, and terrorists, saying that failure to do so will continue to hinder Nigeria's economic growth. Now, as Nigerians celebrate the 30th anniversary of the June 12, 1993 presidential poll, President Bola Tinubu has said that Nigerians must never take democracy for granted. He noted that the winner of the June 12, 1993 annulled presidential election, that's the late MKO Abiola, sacrificed his life for it, and so it's a big deal. The president noted that the presidential election was regarded as the fairest and freest presidential election ever conducted in Nigeria, and that the late Chief MKO Abiola was coasting home to victory when it was annulled by former military President General Ibrahim Babangida, thereby throwing Nigeria into socio-political crisis that was partially resolved with the return to civil rule on May 29, 1999.